Okay, thanks a lot. I'm afraid I don't speak any German, so maybe a special thanks to Peter for his excellent lecture in English that I could understand. But thank you very much. So I'm Sam Keshavarz. I'm a landscape architect and partner at White. And we're very glad to be here today to tell you about the project that is very dear to the both of us since the last 5 years. And it is a project that in all its uniqueness with moving a town still is a project that raises a lot of general questions about identity of a place and a landscape and urban transformations.
Hi, my name is Christoph. I am German, so you're very welcome to ask questions in German as well if you don't want to ask them in English later. I'm working for 6 years now in Sweden at White Architects, and I've been working actually in Zurich before that. So it's really nice to be back and meet some of my former colleagues. And we're working at White Arkitekter, and this is a company, just brief introduction. We're about 900 employees in 4 different countries with roughly, or like not roughly, 16 offices. And and we have 55 landscape architects in total. So we have all those disciplines working in our office. So we really happy also to have that resource to tailor-made specific project teams to every project like Kiruna to really collect the knowledge that we need for making good projects, as we think. And this slide, actually, in the beginning, I didn't think about putting in, but now everyone was talking about water projects. I'm actually happy that I also can show a water project that we did. On the left side is a competition in New York that we made after Storm Sandy. It's about like how landscape actually make resilient landscapes and how emergency cases actually can be for the good then when you involve the people. And in general, we at White, we have the vision that we start our project with looking at the people's needs. So we're creating architecture with people in focus. But then we as landscape architects also work a lot with the public space, but then also going in on the right side, you see an example of a pocket park like temporary architecture and also working with things like tactical urbanism and those ideas.
So let's begin. This is Kiruna. Since thousands of years, it's been the land of the indigenous people, the Sami people, and the reindeers. The town of Kiruna is situated 200 kilometers above the polar circle. And this is a place where the sun doesn't set for 50 days in summer, and it doesn't rise for 3 weeks in the depth of winter. It is a place where people hold a certain close relationship to nature, being outdoors and doing activities. You can do that for many, many months of the year, of course. And maybe the most exotic thing is the northern lights that you frequently have overhead. And the town is situated, which one is that one? So the town is situated here, between the two mining mountains of Kirunavaara and Luosavaara. And the town is overlooking the mountain ridge between Sweden and Norway. And you can get an understanding of the landscape up here. The climate is subarctic. And with its many lakes and marshlands, this would be a characteristic scenery. So it's a harsh climate, and the vegetation is also struggling. We got a lot of birch trees and pine trees, but even they are really having a tough time to grow. So you have a very characteristic vegetation. So in the year 1900, when the mining activity began seriously, this is how it could look like. It was an open quarry on the top of the mountain. And this is today. So you can see that they dug pretty good, done a good job here. In the 1950s, they started going into an underground mine, and currently they are at the level of maybe like the Gotthard Tunnel at its highest point, 1,300 meters below the top of the mountain. So the small town has a very rich and proud history of urban planning and architecture. When it was founded in the 1900s, in the year 1900, they involved the best urban planners and architects at that time, such as Per-Olof Hallman, which did the master plan. And in this image, you can see the town hall by Arthur von Schmalensee, and this characteristic bell tower that you can see from many sites in the town, made by Bror Marklund. You can come to me for the names later if you're interested. And in the far back, you see the characteristic terraces from the mine. So today, the mine excavates pure iron ore, enough to construct 6.5 Eiffel Towers every day. And maybe this gives you some perspective on why moving a town can be possible. It is the world's largest underground mine, producing 90% of all iron in Europe. Over to you.
So let's take a look at the region of Kiruna. So Kiruna is actually the largest municipality in the world, I think, but it has a density of 2.4 inhabitants per square kilometer, so it's really low density. But you also see in the Kiruna, you have Kiruna Center, which you quite often refer to, but you also have the neighborhoods around it, which is a bit, it got from this perfect city that they tried to achieve in the 1900s to a sprawl. But all of them are really close proximity to the mines. And you see two of the mines, Lisävaara and Tullavaara. They're already out of order. But then you also see the third one, which we saw on the picture before, Kirunavaara on the left side, which really has grown to a tremendous size. And they knew this about that when they're digging, that some point they have to create a new city, they have to develop. So their responsibility is actually looking at a map, or made a mapping of the underground resources. And in the end, they found like one white spot on the map, which they then actually a couple of years later found out it was really a printing failure. So the whole region is like full of underground mines. So it's not just easy to say like we move away from the iron. And to understand the problematic, now we try to see what's happening. So in the lower part, you see a section of the mine, and actually I have to correct that right now it's like 1,000 meters underground, and they want to establish a new mining level on 1,364 meters underground. So in 2004, the company LKAB, which is a state-owned mining company, basically wrote a letter to Kiruna municipality saying like, can you change your center to industrial area in the detail plan, please? And then they started to, okay, let's take a look at that. And you see also those red lines in the sections, and in the plan, the white ones, these are the deformation lines. So these are lines with like 2018, 2023, 33, and 2100, where they expect that the ground is actually sinking in the city, or like in a bigger way. So already today, they tearing down buildings, and the ground is sinking in the lower parts. Yeah, and the hedged area here, that's just to finish that slide, the hedged area is the area which actually was mentioned as this is the main area for 2033, which we have to relocate. And Kiruna, we didn't say that now, it has 18,000 inhabitants, and the affected people by that area is about 9,000 people.
So this is us at the site visit in 2012. It was in 2011 that the municipality took the decision to actually move the town, and they launched this international competition. And here we are wondering about the task we had been given, how to move a town. So when we were talking to people, we could detect a certain skepticism towards the project, and it became quite important to understand more about this to be able to go forward. So the town had to move, but people were still free to choose to go elsewhere. Besides the inevitable fact, what positive side effects could this project bring? And unlike this image from Archigram from the 60s, showing a futuristic vision of towns moving towards resources, we quickly realized that this, rather than being a technical challenge, would be a social and cultural one. So with the help from our social anthropologists, we talked to people, and for most people, the fact that they had to move was accepted, but they were still in a sense of limbo. They didn't know where to move. And we could understand that as people were different, their thoughts and feelings about the project would be different as well. For families, or soon to become families, these hard facts, such as where is the service and how will I be reimbursed for my house, were crucial. For young people, they seem to be more positive towards the move, but especially young women leave the town for a couple of years to study and live elsewhere. So when I come back, what will I come back to? Will I recognize my town? And for older people, in general, they were more impatient, because since 2004, there had been a lot of talks, but not much action. So I believe it when I see it. It could be a typical quote. So we learned, in a sense, who the people of Kiruna were. LKAB, the mining company, with its global network and international tourism, had created a urban and cultural mix. The people of Kiruna are social and urban, quite unique for such a small and isolated town. And almost as a contradiction to this, there is this close relationship to nature. Hunting, fishing, and being outdoors, both in summer and winter, is a big part of daily life here. Our own observations led us to believe that the existing town of Kiruna did not always serve the people in the best way. The urban sprawl had created large distances between town and nature, and also less vibrant public space. So as we saw it, Kiruna was given this unique opportunity to reinvent its town. And it was an opportunity to broaden the town's identity and create space for more of what is actually Kiruna today. It is an open town, open to migrating labor, and with an extraordinary active public life, especially comparing to other Swedish small towns.
So before any design decisions were taken in our project, we've been sitting down with our social anthropologists again, and been thinking about what's a good way to deal with that, because it's not just about drawing a master plan like you maybe do in some other urban planning projects. And we started to think about also to be flexible in the future, because it's a bit uncertainty in that project. It's not like this is a task and we need a solution for that. It's not just one question to one answer. We've been thinking about different strategies which should guide us through the coming years and process. And the first and most important of all these process with these doubts about the move is that no one should left behind, and that's the most important principle to guide us through every project. And when the principle that we've been thinking about then, our strategy, is that we want to create a strip, and instead of creating a new satellite city, maybe outside, which would be the easiest way to do, just in terms of planning, we've been thinking about this is a good opportunity to actually sew together the different neighborhoods, but also like the institutions that we have, like the mine or the airport, which is an important place in the city. And so that the whole moving project's not getting a shock, we've been also thinking like, one strategy is that we want to do the move step by step. So we're taking a big step forward, but also small steps backwards, because otherwise you would need a really big critical mass in the amount of square meters or like functions that you want to move to a new place. And by that strip and also by that strategy, it was for us quite clear that you see it on the black diagram, that this strip is actually a series of projects and especially public places, so that the public places are the places sewing the city together and creating that moving in small steps. The third strategy, we're coming back to the model town 2.0, we call it, because the first city in 1900 was called model town, and we want to reinvent it now, talking to the people. And this close proximity between city and wilderness, and people actually live up there in Kiruna. It's a harsh climate to live in. They live there because they really love the wilderness, and they love to get outdoors. They're really, really active people. So we try to make urban planning principles out of that. And one of them, the tagline then is like a dense town in direct relation to nature. But also to get a bit more concrete about that is that no one who lives in Kiruna in the future city has to walk more than 3 blocks to actually get into wild nature. But also for translating those strategies into the real world, we also developed 3 tools. And the first one is the Kiruna dialogue, which would be a way of systemize and encourage public involvement to set up. Now we're working on also a GIS platform, which is like interactive, so where the citizens actually can be involved. But we also, in the project that we're doing, really have a lot of workshops and quite often up there. With Right, we open an office in Kiruna to be like an open platform to be on site and to listen. And that's, I think, really important also when we talk in the project. It's not always just like we're presenting and do you like it or not, but that we have long discussions with them and listen to what they say. The Kiruna Biennale is as it says, like every second year, a bigger event, which is thought in a way that one year we invite people from abroad, maybe someone of you, if it's possible, but to bring in experience and knowledge from abroad, so that actually the city and the inhabitants can learn from the world or from the global world. But then every other year that the city itself gets the opportunity to share this unique story with the world. So it's like a 1 year inside and 1 year outside event. And the last tool is the Kiruna portal. And the picture is illustrated as a really physical place, but for us it's also a virtual place. So it's because of that, and that's the way. That's the place where we think about how to communicate, and also like for construction of the new, but also in a way of urban recycling of the old city, and that there's a portal which you can go to where you know where you can get help with recycling where you live, or recycling your house, or moving it in a way. And the special thing about it is that recycling, especially in Kiruna, is not just about like ecological functions or ecological values, but it's very much about recycling a cultural identity that you have with the place. And one interesting example is the kind of talks that we had is we've been talking to an older woman, and she was talking about that we have to move a bench which was standing there, which was actually quite old. And we're like, okay, yeah, we tried to include that. But then she was talking about that was the bench where she had her first kiss on, actually. And she really don't want to lose that bench. But for us, it was like an old park bench in a way, in a place where you never are in that city today.
So let's have a look at the new plan. This is the site for the new town in the white circle, and you see the existing town of Kiruna here. You see Malmväg and the connecting main street, and the two neighboring districts, Tuulavara and Lombolo, that you saw in the conceptual diagram. And an overview of the site. So this is not a untouched nature. It's very close to the old mine of Tuulavara, and this is where the center will be. And there has been the last 2 years, there has been a lot of cleaning up the soil after the old industry, but also from a shooting range and an asphalt refinery. So I think it's quite interesting that, I mean, these projects would not have been done cleaning up the soil unless this project happened. And now there will be a lot to keep your eyes on. You will see how the deformation occurs here in the west, and also how you see it in the section here, and you will also see how the new town grows in the new site. Oh, that's too fast. Okay, so this is 2023. And that's when you have the new center, and you can see how the urban plan is docking into its neighboring districts, especially east to west. And going to 2033, which was the planning horizon for the competition. So you now see how the town is growing in a north to south direction, and green parks are creating a close relation to the surrounding nature. You have streets that give you a fast access downtown, but also a broken up structure to prevent cold winter winds from the southeast. And yeah. In our competition, we wanted to stress test our plan. So we did look at the prognosis for the 2100 scenario, which is very, of course, uncertain, but still to see what different exit strategies the new town could have. And this is a space syntax analysis showing the number of people living within a 500 meters distance from each other in different phases. In a way, this is an indication of where the urban center will be and how the town is actually moving. I think we need to speed up.
So then we went back to the question, now you've seen the master plan, but still we go back to the question, how do we actually move the identity of a place? And how do we preserve the cultural heritage that we have? So we started to map the important landmarks, like the town hall with its bell tower. But we also start to map the less important, like the bench, which is actually maybe covered 10 months of the year in snow, which you can see on the left. So we, in the next step, then we try to find places to integrate them. So for example, the wooden church, which is in Sweden, at least a symbol for Kiruna, this church, very famous, is going to be taken down in small pieces and then completely unaltered, placed in the new city, integrated in the urban fabric. And the contract together with LKB, the company, is actually that they have to, or they preserve 20 of those most important buildings which are going to be placed all over the city, and also then give, when we go back, when we've been talking about identity, we're still not sure where they're actually going to be placed, but that the different neighborhoods can, for example, get identity through those important buildings. And here we have the bell tower, which is going to be placed, which is taken down from the town hall, and we're going to place it on the public square, which is the new heart of the city. I'm going to walk through some of the images that how we actually imagine the new city is going to be. So this is the square close to Malmvägen, which you see in the lower right. And this is really the heart. Today there's no square in Kiruna, it's really hard to find a center. So this is a new place for them, a new meeting place, which they're really looking forward to. This is the shopping street, and one opportunity that we have also when we talk about quite small cities today is that you know that the external shopping centers always are quite far out, but we managed actually, which was a long process, that the external shopping is actually placed really central in the new city, so it's within a walking distance, and we want to achieve that we're going to have a not car-dependent city, which is a big step towards that. And of course, all the shops are already getting a talk to find a new place in that city. Here we have a picture of like a normal neighborhood street where you see like a Plekhörn building, the yellow one in the back, behind that small local park, which is an old miners' home, like built for the miners. And this is a picture of the new city park, which has activities all year round, but also events going on there. And 50% of the rain which falls in Kiruna actually coming down as snow. So it's also going to be a quite big snow storage during winter time, but also we're also talking about stormwater handling actually when the melting period starts. And I think I actually want to add something about when you asked me about what images mean, is that we, in one submission, we got a bit stressed, and then the visualizers actually delivered the picture really late. So we had to present it, and we've been thinking like, oh, no one wears like gloves and anything. This is so unrealistic. But actually in Kiruna, when we presented that, was finally after a couple of years, you understand how we are. This is not a lot of snow in that picture, so we don't have gloves at that time. That's right. Nice discussion. And today, after the first urban planning processes, we also started with the landscape architects now working on the square and also the park, first phase of the park. So this is the latest render of the park. Imagine with the old model of the city. It's also we're going to get artists involved because Kiruna is as well a quite famous art city. And another project, and now I actually can finally talk about water projects, even in Kiruna, is that there's quite a lot of water in that area of the country. So before you actually seal the ground for building the new blocks, we had to design, so quite early, it's already under construction, so 4 years before every building is going to start it, but we have to be building now a stormwater infiltration system and channel because when you seal the ground, you get all that water, and then this system has to be already built. So that's basically the first landscape project that you build, is taking care of the water.
So, to summarize, let's return to the question, how does the master plan relate to the identity of Kiruna? And how does it relate to the people's perception of their town? I will try to give a short summary of that. We found that Kiruna is a subarctic town where people value the outdoor life highly and needs buildings and an urban structure that supports that. And this is key to the notion of the town's identity as we see it, and we believe we can support that by urban design. Kiruna is also more than its mine. It is a small town with a strong and vivid culture and a proud history, constantly proven by its many visitors. So we've tried to support this urban scheme by creating a town which has more meeting places and foremost the new square as a landmark. it will be a town with more reasons to stay in and meet each other. And even though life in Kiruna is quite different from the one in southern Scandinavia, but also even further down here, it is, as I said in the beginning, that the main concerns are relevance for others. And this is a small town that faces a big challenge, and the support and criticism from you guys is very welcome. So let the dialogue continue. Thank you for listening.